If you achieved a great milestone in a game, I don't care what sport it really is, but your team lost, how much would that milestone mean to you? Now, it's not a playoff game,
It still means something.
but you know what I'm saying.
You always want to do it in a
It's
win.
not the end of your year by losing.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm trying to say. So if you reach a milestone, but your team loses a game that does matter, but your season doesn't end, there's still another game to be played. A lot more games to be played, actually. How would you feel? Would you still be happy about the milestone, or would you be down in the dumps because of the loss?
It's kind of that in-between feeling where you want to be happy because you just hit a personal milestone and you hit a personal best, and, you know, you hit something that, you know, is mean you've been around for a while. But in the same respect, it's your team lost, so how happy can you be because you still may have not done enough to help your team win.
But you just did something that only 4 other people in the history of your sport have ever done. There's got to be some excitement. Like, to me, I'm thinking about how I would feel. And
You're
I think
excited, but it's like, again, when it happens in a loss, it diminishes a little bit of the value of it. And not the value of it overall, like when you sit back, when your career's all said and done, and you sit back and, like, you look at your whole body of work, you could say, okay, well, I did that. But the game you did it on, it would be like if Derek Jeter hit his 3,000th hit in a loss. It would diminish it a little bit, and he would kind of feel a little, because Derek Jeter's the type of player that, even though he hit that milestone, and it's a milestone no other Yankee has hit. He's the only Yankee ever to have 3,000 hits. If he did it in a loss, it would still be bittersweet because he would still say, well, even though I got my hit and that's great and everybody's cheering me on, our team still lost the ball game. You know, it's that kind of mentality. Now, some guys are just selfish and they don't care, and they say, well, I'm just happy because I hit my milestone and Jimmy cracked corn and I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, they just are, it's all about them. But I don't see the person. We're talking about Steve Nash hitting 10,000 career assists. He's only the 4th player to ever hit that milestone. Steve Nash doesn't strike me as that kind of player. He strikes me as the type of player that looks at it, gets the milestone, he's like, great, yeah, that's awesome, good, now we're back on the court again.
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny, too, because for his age and the amount of years he's played, I think he's in his 17th season, the man has never made it to the NBA Finals. Only player to win multiple MVPs to never play in the NBA Finals. And he comes to this team with high hopes and aspirations to have a run at the NBA championship and maybe have a chance to go win it. And instead, the team's struggling to keep above 500. Injuries are killing them. There's no chemistry at all. And I think that, to me, is more what bothers him. Not just a single loss, but I think it's that every day. I mean, they've now lost 5 in a row, and they have to play at San Antonio tonight. So I think for me, the season's starting to wear on him mentally. And I think you saw that in his comments last night after the game as well. But to reach 10,000 assists in the NBA, to reach a mark that is, you know, right up there with the Kobe Bryant breaking that 30,000 threshold, the 30,000 point threshold. To me, it's just, he actually, ironically enough, did enter the NBA the same year that Kobe Bryant did as well in '96. So if you think about it, Kobe put up 30,000 since '96. Steve Nash dished out 10,000 assists since '96. That's pretty damn impressive. I mean, John Stockton, Jason Kidd, Mark Jackson, and Magic Johnson. It's a hell of a group to be with. You know what I mean? Like, that's a hell of a group.
So he's number 5 on the list then.
Right now, yeah, number 5. But, I mean, let's think about it. 141 and he passes Magic. I mean, you need another 5,800 just to get to John Stockton's level.
He's not getting to John Stockton.
I don't think anybody's getting to John Stockton. I had to laugh, though. What would you do with the ball? Because you know you kept it.
So you get a nice little place. You put it on a mantle. A little plaque that says a date. And
he said his 2-year-old will be playing with it.
Yeah. Well, that's what he means, though. He's going to put it in the house, and the 2-year-old's going to get a hold of it and roll around on the ground and whatever. I don't know. I think it's a great milestone. I like Nash, but the Lakers are a mess right now.
They are.
All year long, we're almost halfway through the season, believe it or not.
I know.
We are pretty much about a week and a half away from being halfway through the season.
And you've got a little over a month, and we're at the All-Star break.
Yeah. Time is flying by, and I figured eventually the Lakers would right the ship, and I thought once they got on that little roll where they went like 4-1, I was like, all right, Lakers are starting to pick up some momentum, starting to pick up steam. They're going to start figuring some things out. And what happened? But you have the Kobe and Howard thing. Then Howard gets hurt, and Gasol has a concussion, and everything just falls apart again. Between the health issues on this team and the mental issues of they just can't get right, I don't know if the Lakers, with all of it is so hard to believe with all of the talent that they have on that roster, they're looking at an under 500 team.
Yeah.
It is. I can't wrap my head around it. I'm. The more time goes by, the more I sit here and think the Lakers can actually finish under 500 on the year.
Yeah, they're 15-19 right now. 3 spots out of the playoffs. Sorry. I mean, it's embarrassing. I mean, that's what it would be to me. That's how I look at this. It's embarrassing. And I was listening to them break down the game this morning before I left the house, and they were talking about how out of Houston's, they lost to the Rockets last night, 125-112. Out of Houston's 125 points, almost 90% came in the paint. No Paul Gasol, no Dwight Howard. And what did the coach make as a game plan? Attack the paint. They're too old on the outside to slow everybody down. They just are. Ron Artest has the potential to be a very great defender. He used to be a very great defender. But he's not a great defender night in and night out. He's too old, doesn't have the energy. He's got 3 names to carry around. There's so many different issues with this team. When D'Antoni first got there, they had the same issues. And we said on this show, it's still early enough.
Yeah.
I don't think it's early enough anymore.
No,
they're you know, in the NFL, you get to like 3-4 weeks before the playoffs get here, and you start deciding you control your own destiny. You need help. The Lakers are getting to the you need help point.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you could win out, but that ain't happening. This is basketball. Too many games. You're just not winning that many.
Football where you're playing once a week.
Yeah, it's just too many games. It's not going to happen. Like any other sport where you play a lot, there are games where some players just don't give you everything they got because they're tired.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's no way this team wins out. So with 34 games played, which leaves you at 48 games left on the year, you got to figure this team needs to win, what, 25 to, well, actually, no, probably close to the 30
There's not much
out
else
of 48.
Kobe can do for him because Kobe's already the leading scorer in the NBA. So it's not like he could really get a whole lot better here.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking. This team literally would have to win about 30 out of the last 48 games of the year for them to have a legit shot at making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Literally, and 30 wins would put them at 45 wins on the year, which is what, 4 games above 500. So I mean, it's not even like saying if you win 30 out of your final 48, you're not. That's not that impressive. You're 30-18 over a 48 game stretch. That's not amazing.
No.
And that's only going to put you 3-4 games above 500. This team is legitimately in trouble. And I know we've talked about this before. I know we've touched on how they're in trouble. But at this point, I don't think they have what they need to have to fix it. And a lot of that's contributed to the fact of how I feel about D'Antoni as a head coach. I don't like him as a head coach. I just don't. But I think this team is in a lot of trouble, and I think it's fair to say. I really do.